Hello, in this episode, as part of my, I don't know, messing around with Quake for class, well, Trench Broom, this is a level built to sort of test out Quake and just get some baseline numbers for what you can and cannot do. Uh, I'll just go into it and show it off. Uh, First thing I want to figure out, how big is the player character? The player character is 32 by 32 by 72 Quake units. But to actually move around, you need the head above you to be at least 73. Anyway, let's jump on down into the level. Next thing to show. What space can you actually go through? First of all, you can walk over basically anything. This is one Quake unit thin. It is the thinnest you can make something in Quake, and you can tightrope over it just fine. But this is a 32 by 32 hole. I cannot fit through it because that is the exact same size as the character. I think from some like weird speed running videos I've seen of Quake, you can theoretically fit by that if you hit it at just the right angle, but that's very impractical. If you're making a Quake map, you want to have the holes be at least 36 so you can fit through, and even then, that's kinda thin. I like to have doorways be at least 48, like this one. See, that's fine. And the paths that you walk on, I mean, you can make them one thin, but I tend to like them to be at least this thick, maybe even thicker, really depending on how the level works. This path is 64. It's actually nice that the player character is 32 by 32 because in Trench Broom, like, the units you do come in bases of 2. I usually do a lot of the major mapping in 16 and then get smaller and smaller as I do detail work. Back to this. What else? Jump. How high can the player character jump? Well, I've got this handy dandy thing to show you. The player character can jump just barely onto the right half of this box. You cannot jump onto the left half. The player character's max jump height is 43 units. 44 will cut you off, but 43 you can just barely make. What about long jumps? I mean, obviously it's affected by things like height, but you can fairly easy make a jump like this that is 96 units. Like, this is fine. This is what your jump should be in games. But through my testing, the farthest I can make is this one, which is 96. You can probably go a few units further, but this is the farthest I could get consistently. And I mean, I guess you could use that in your map, but you probably shouldn't. Let's move on to stairs. This left half, so it's kind of like this thing. This left half is 19 high. This right half is 18 high. 18 is the maximum height for something for you to just walk up. Now, if you arrange steps that are less than 18, you can walk up. For instance, this is a staircase map of 16 size things. See, walk up it easy. Although that kind of looks kind of weird, just the big steps. I tend to go for like 8 high ones, which work like this. Also, something I will double check that you can do, you can have the steps be separated by empty space as long as you don't go higher than 18 on any particular step. Similarly, we have ramps, and I don't have any absolute statements, just that ramps like this one, which is 10 by 5, they work fine. They're what you should normally use in Quake maps. This one over here is a bit different. It's 10 by 7, and that's when it starts to get way too steep. But really, the ramp climbing in Quake is kind of insane. This one is 10 by 13. It's higher vertical than it is horizontal, but you can still make up it, if only barely. I don't know the maximums. Ramps are more complicated than stairs, but you can do a lot with ramps, but you shouldn't, because that's just ridiculous. Um, let's see, finally, before I switch back to the Quake editor, or Trench Room editor, I did some experimenting with hallways. This is just a nice small hallway. It is 40 by 64. This is a more normal hallway at 80 by 128. And this big old one, massive hallway, is 144 by 160. Now I'm going to go back to the editor because it would be chaos to show this actually in game. I did testing to figure out how high various enemies can shoot, because it is not the same for enemies. These generic soldiers, and the editor, they're called monster underscore army. They can shoot, and I did their shoot lines in fours as opposed to like getting nitty gritty down to the exact number. They can shoot over this 36 wall. They cannot shoot over this 40 wall. This one works as cover. On the other hand, the enforcers, which are kind of the buffer soldiers, can shoot over 40 but can't shoot over 44. And then ogres, these grenade lobber dudes, they are blocked very easy. This one right here, 36, they cannot shoot over that, but they can go over 32. So just keep those numbers in mind as you make maps, and really the main thing in Quake is, and really development in general, is just experiment, make sure things work, always be iterating. But yeah, that's this little testing room that I built, and I'm going to end the video now.